after the pro day, you're at the draft. Did you think Dallas was coming for you? Were you hoping for it?
I remember as it was going on, like, there was always such a hope because we never really talked to them much throughout the draft. But I had been, from my time when I was A&M, been in Jerry's suite a couple times. I went to the Final Four that was there and sat in the suite. We always had great talks, always seemed to have a good relationship. So when the pick popped up, I'm sitting there crossing my fingers, hoping that that would be the case. Ultimately for them, it worked out because Zach Martin was an unbelievable pick. Um, and I would say still probably even to this day, I'm a fan of players in the NFL, like Mike Evans, my guy. There's quarterbacks that I love to watch, but if there's a team that like really has like a place in my heart that I like, it's the boys.
Yeah. So you're in the suite with Jerry. Did you ever feel like he was picking your brain, trying to see if you were the quarterback of his future, or was it more just small talk, handshake, smile, take a picture, see you bye?
I think it was more just small talk and handshakes and hanging out and me probably trying to go in there and sneak a margarita or something.
Nice. And so you're at the draft and you were falling, and then the Cleveland Browns step up and take you. What's that feeling like? And by the way, I also heard that did you text like the offensive coordinator from the Browns and be like, come get me or something along those lines? Did I hear this right?
He texted me a little bit, probably maybe after like pick 18 or something. It was like, yo,
this is Kyle,
patient.
Right?
This was Dow Loggins. This was Dow Loggins.
Okay.
He was our quarterback coach. He was like, be patient. We think we're going to come up and get you. The really interesting thing was going into the draft, we felt like our floor was 23. Even though we didn't have any meetings with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think Andy Reid really liked me. And that's where I would have gone had the Browns not traded up one spot ahead.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that one. Wow. So you get drafted to Cleveland. What's the immediate thought? You're happy, or you're like, oh, God, it's Cleveland?
No.
Or I'm the guy that can change the trajectory of the quarterbacks.
I think my immediate reaction was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a 5'11" quarterback who played 2 years in college and I just got drafted in the first round. Like, wow.
That was it? Because the Johnny Manziel that I watched on TV, I would think he would be like, yeah, of course I'm going to the Cleveland, and I'm going to be that guy that changes the trajectory. I'm going to do it all. So in the back of your head, you're more like, oh my God, I've only played 2 years. Like, what is going on here?
I mean, when I went to college, I just wanted to get on the field and play college football. And then you look up like, 12 months later and you're on a stage in New York and you win a Heisman. And then, you go back for a second season and you play better than you did the year before. And it's like, wow. I didn't come into this thinking that the NFL was actually going to be a reality. And then, you turn your papers in later in the year and you get a first, second round grade coming back. So it's like, wow, I really have the opportunity to be able to do it. And then when Cleveland happened, I didn't know anything about Cleveland. I knew going into the draft that they had 2 picks. So statistically, a team having 2 picks, there's a chance that they need a quarterback. There's a chance that I'm going to end up here. And then when I went to Berea for the first time the next day after the draft, I got to meet Ray Farmer and Jimmy Haslam and Mike Pettin and stuff, and just really taking a look at the roster at the time. I felt a lot of confidence with the pieces that we had, that I would be able to go in and be able to be a good fit for the organization. And ultimately, that wasn't the case.
When did you realize that the NFL was different than college? Because obviously, I imagine I don't know this because I'm not you, and I imagine you'll parlay the information to us, but you're going in, you're dominating college. Like, no one can touch you. You're just tremendous. You're polarizing. Everyone wants a piece of Money Manziel. And then you go to the Cleveland Browns and you're like, I imagine if I'm you, I would probably be like, yeah, I'm going to do the same exact thing in college. And then you get to the NFL and you're like, wait, it's a job. It's not just playing on a football field anymore. When was that realization for you?
I think probably through the first training camp, as we got out there and they started introducing some defenses. The great thing about Texas A&M and Cliff Kingsbury's offense and the offense that we ran there, it was more predicated on speed, fast, getting defenses uncomfortable. But I wouldn't say we were super dialed in to the X's and O's of the game, right? Maybe you're looking at one high, two high, or if a linebacker's tucked in the box to make a switch and throw a bubble and like get the ball on the perimeter and play fast. When you get to the NFL and you're really starting to learn defenses, I felt overwhelmed. I felt swamped. Like I didn't learn enough that I needed to in college to be prepared for the NFL. And I remember being in practice, and it was probably maybe 5 days into training camp, and the defense started putting in an 8 DB package where there's like 8 defensive backs walking around everywhere, and there's only 3 down linemen. You can't tell who's a down lineman or who to block, and there's just little guys all over the field. And I just remember walking off the practice field that day being like, that sucked. That was the day that was like, I got absolutely put in a blender and just like, this was, you're like, this is what they do, right? You're going to see 3 down sets, 4 down sets. You're going to have guys walking around. It's not always going to be cut and dry and 4 down, 3 linebackers and everything looking perfect like it did a lot in college.
Do you have any regrets?
I sit here today with like just a lot of regret with how I handled a lot of things. I think I took a lot of my like similar attitude and like antics with me. I think I got really comfortable in being in a position my first year there of being the backup and really not having a lot of responsibilities. I think I never truly embraced Cleveland. I think I went into it with a negative mindset from the get-go and never really fully put my heart around it and gave it a chance. Um, Being in Texas my whole life and then going there was just a little bit of a shell shock for me. And, look, a lot of people throughout that time supported me, bought jerseys, the city embraced me, they loved me. There was a lot of hope that I was going to be able to go there and make a difference for a franchise that's been longing for that, right? But um, my effort and my determination and time that I could have put into the quarterback position is something that for the rest of my life will always haunt me, that I had the ability to do more and I didn't because my head and my mind and things were in other places that weren't focused on, what I was truly, truly gifted at.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.